Welcome to the Ride With Us podcast, presented by the American Coaster Enthusiasts, the world's largest ride enthusiast organization dedicated to the appreciation, promotion, and preservation of roller coasters around the globe. So please keep your hands and feet inside the podcast at all times as we welcome in your host.
Hello, enthusiasts. It's your host, Jessica Gardner, and we are back for part 2 of our Epic Universe podcast. In episode 1, we just finished talking about Super Nintendo World, and we are headed clockwise around Epic Universe. So, after exiting Super Nintendo World, we will be going to the left. Do you feel kind of a chill? Is there something kind of clouding over you? Do you feel like maybe something is ahead of you? You're not quite sure. Well, your senses do not deceive you. You are walking towards Dark Universe. And Mr. Gooch is going to take us there.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to Dark Universe. This is, I love the entire park, but this land is very special to me as a filmmaker because I think this is the most universal land of Universal. A lot of people don't know that Universal is the studio that was credited with inventing the horror film. Which is why they host one of the greatest Halloween events in the world at Halloween Horror Nights. People didn't really understand that was the history, that Universal really built their studio on the backs of franchises of the classic Universal monsters. So Dark Universe is a world that is based on Universal's classic monsters, first shown in the films The Hunchback of Notre Dame, 1923, Phantom of the Opera, 1925, Dracula, 1931, Frankenstein, 1931, The Mummy, 1932, The Invisible Man, 1933, The Bride of Frankenstein, 1935, The Wolfman, 1941, and The Creature from the Black Lagoon, 1954, and a load of other films. Like I said, all of these became franchises, and they made multiple movies with each of these monsters, and it really built the studio and made them popular. So here we are, finally getting a Universal world dedicated to the thing that built the studio. I love it. The portal out front. As we were saying earlier, each portal has a cool saying on it to get you in the vibe. And this one says, "It's alive," which is the famous line from Frankenstein as Dr. Henry Frankenstein brings life to his monster. And I'm sure even people who maybe haven't even seen that original film have maybe seen the clip of him saying, "It's alive," the electricity crackling in his laboratory. So you go through this portal of crackling electricity and kind of dark colors, and immediately you're dumped into what looks like a cemetery area, and you're coming into the outskirts of Darkmoor Village, and this is a dark and mysterious old world village with the Grand Frankenstein Manor off in the distance. Which occasionally crackles with electricity and lights and sounds of experimentation as well. So there's a lot of things to see in this land just from standing there. Very much like in Diagon Alley, where people will stand out just to see the dragon shoot off fire. Man, the Frankenstein's Manor goes nuts, and there's sounds everywhere and lights and everything. And so that is kind of the centerpiece of the land, but the village is, like I said, very old world. It's lots of dark wood. It looks super aged. And the main attractions in this land are Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein experiment, which is housed in Frankenstein's Manor. So as you make your way through the village and get to the back to this grand, and I mean, it really is grand. It's a very, very large building. You enter to go on to Monsters Unchained, and the story of this ride, without spoiling, it is that Victoria Frankenstein, who's the great granddaughter of Henry Frankenstein, he is the man who created the original Frankenstein's monster. She has now taken his knowledge and and is trying to revive the Frankenstein name to its greatness. And she has revived the monster and also is now attempting to revive and demonstrate control over all of the other monsters in the Universal Monsters universe. But unfortunately, in her experiments, you can't always control these monsters, and so things kind of go awry. And that's what you get to experience on the ride. The ride itself is, I mean, it's just so loaded with content, with amazing technology. There's a fantastic queue that again is loaded with. You see all these the lights, the crackling electricity, the scientific devices and things that are supposed to be in the lab. It has incredible animatronics, both in the pre-show and in the ride. I've never quite seen something so realistic. In fact, the first animatronic, I won't spoil it, but it comes out and it walked almost directly toward me where I was standing in the room, and I was like, "What? Oh my God!" It was just so realistic.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
a
s-
wow moment for sure. When a pre-show can wow you like that. I mean, the queue alone, walking through the manor and
yes,
seeing all the different chambers and all of the different light effects and the amount
yes,
of money and time and thought put into this queue, really absolutely stunning. Gets you right in that sort of mood for
ah,
what's about to happen. But then the pre-show right away to just sort of smack you in the face with awesome. Just
yeah,
truly.
yes, and like you said, it's just completely immersive, even down to the artwork. When you first walk into that manor, and you're kind of in an area where that has like a large, grand kind of spiral staircase that goes up. There's the whole wall is painted with a gigantic mural of just incredible, like it's like souls and spirits, and they're all reaching up, and like their eyes are electric, and there's electricity coming out of them, and they're all like reaching up and looking to the king, who is Frankenstein, the great grand scientist and inventor. So every bit of this is just loaded with amazing artwork and use of technology to help tell this story. The ride system is very similar to Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. You board, a very small car that I believe has like maybe 6 seats across, very much like that ride system, or maybe four. It's small. It's definitely not very large. So you kind of go in smaller groups. And this ride system allows them to take you then through all of these scenes that are a combination of lots of movie screens, implemented in a different way than Harry Potter, like we talked about earlier, them being in these very dome immersive screens. These are kind of peppered all throughout, in the middle of sets, and like I said, plenty of sometimes massive animatronics of these monsters as they're coming to life and they're battling and coming after you. And it's just so immersive, so full and loaded with technology and storytelling, and it's just super exciting. I will not be surprised by anyone who comes out of this park saying that this is their favorite ride or attraction, because it is a headliner. It's fantastic.
One thing about the technology that I hadn't seen before in that land was the use of animatronic, but also a screen in the same thing to be able to show more emotion and conversation in the facial movements. So they're not just they're doing great things with technology, but they're also blending technology together in a way that I have never seen in any other ride.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. So that is the star of this land and the headline attraction there. The other attraction in Dark Universe is a roller coaster for us coaster fans. It is called Curse of the Werewolf. This is a launched mock spinner roller coaster. This is more similar to Mock's family thrill spinner coasters, like a Sierra Sidewinder at Knott's Berry Farm. It's very similar cars to that. Not the same cars you would get with like a Time Traveler or a Ride to Happiness. So it's not too extreme. I think everybody in the family can ride it, but it has some punchy little launches, which is really cool. It gets you going. Sometimes you go forward and you launch backward. You go through different different scenes and things as you go through the woods. And obviously, being called Curse of the Werewolf, this one is themed to the Wolfman film. The queue for this ride is very elaborate. It's kind of open air and it's very beautifully decorated, and it is very much themed to like a mystical carnival, which is a throwback to the original Wolfman film, as the character who becomes a Wolfman, is told the story that one of the people who works at the carnival was bitten by the wolf, and when the moon comes, it makes him turn, and that's how he eventually becomes the wolf. But yeah, super fun ride. I really enjoyed this roller coaster. Did you guys all get to do these two attractions?
Yep. That was the second world that I went to, and I would say of all of the rides, Curse of the Werewolf surprised me the most of how much I enjoyed it.
Mm.
And I like that you could bring your bag onto that ride. I didn't think that a spinning ride that you would be able to bring your bag onto, but another cool, you know, quality or fact about this ride is, and it's very convenient.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. What do you think, Jess?
Yeah, I thought it was fun. Absolutely the Sierra Sidewinder. My car did not spin very much, but then I've heard other people say that they spun like crazy. So obviously, your mileage may vary, but I was telling people, make sure you keep your eyes open for some of the fun theming while actually on the coaster because you don't want to miss anything.
I was in the
Yes.
first car and we spun like crazy. So there may be some science behind it. But one thing to note, just because this is a first look episode, when you are in the queue and you're waiting for your train, look up. Talk about first look. Look
Yeah.
up the screen that looks like the sky. That is not a video or anything. That's the sky. They have a camera pointing to the sky and it just shows it in a more detailed way. So whatever the sky is like, it could be dark, it could be cloudy, it could be bright, whatever it may be, it will always match what it is outside because that is a live camera and not an actual like screen playing an
What?
image of the sky. Yes.
I took a
Yes.
video of that too, and I didn't
Yes.
realize
So if
that.
you look at it, that's another reason why I want to ride it at night again, because I want to see the difference.
The
But
night
yes,
sky.
yeah,
Yeah.
the night sky, but even as
Hmm.
it goes to dusk and the sun is setting, it will always match what the sky looks like outside because it's partly an outdoor queue, when you're about to leave out there, so you can see that it's the same at all times. So, little tidbit.
Doug, what about you? Were you able to do either of these attractions?
Yeah, I was able to do both of them, and my anticipation was great because, like, I wanted to go in Dark Universe. That was one of the main worlds I wanted to go to. So the whole day, I wanted to get there, I wanted to get there, but we did like Super Nintendo World first and different attractions first, and then finally, it turned dark at night, and we got to go in there, which I thought was a great introduction to that land. But I loved the coaster, and especially at night, I thought it had a different feel. It was cool to check out.
So, moving on to some of the other things in Dark Universe, one of the things that I really liked here were the meet and greets. Um, there are a bunch of characters that wander through. Like I said, this is themed to a village. It is called Darkmoor Village. And so a village would have villagers, as well as these monsters that are being resurrected by Dr. Victoria Frankenstein. So you can meet and take photos with Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein. You can see Igor, who is the Hunchback of Notre Dame's assistant. Yes, master. Yes. You can see Igor tooling around through there. When we met Igor, he was carrying a severed foot, and we were just kind of like, "Are you okay, man? You need help with something?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're just doing our experiments."
That's
He
a
was
really good impression, by the way. You should.
Oh, I have too much fun with these actors. And so when he said he was doing his experiments, he said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I want the rides." And he says, "Okay, all right. Anything else?" "I want the rides." He was playing along and he was like, I think this one's brain is broken. I think we need to take him back to the doctor and do a little work on him and we'll get him right.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy that they do that. They employ these actors to come out and play these
There's
roles.
a lot of good actors in Orlando, and good for
Yeah.
them. They've hired some really good ones for this park.
You can also meet the Invisible Man. He comes out wrapped up in his full garb and does his very Claude Rains voice and tells everyone, "You're not worthy of being around me and listening to my words. I'm brilliant. I'm a genius. I'm a god, and you all are just a bunch of fools." You know, so it must be fun for him because he gets out to get out there and just talk junk to everyone. Um, you can also see some non-specific characters that they'll have a monster hunter character who will be out wandering through that land and he'll tell you he's looking for the monster. Have you seen this? Have you seen that? I'm looking for him. I'm trying to keep everyone safe. And you'll also find a musician who wanders through that land who will regale you with songs telling stories of the village and the monsters. So
Yeah.
I really did appreciate those characters and those
Yeah, we got
moments.
to hear some of that, and he played the violin, and it was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's very talented people doing these characters. So, as far as food in this land, you have three places. The first and probably most important there is the Burning Blade Tavern. If This is also an homage to Frankenstein, as not to spoil that movie, but there is a fire, and part of the village gets burned in the movie. And so they decided to make a Burning Blade Tavern that has um, a windmill on top that erupts into flames several times an hour. Literally, I mean, just you'll see it just flames just take off, and this whole giant windmill is spinning on fire, which is really cool. And the food there is both tasty and well themed because most of the items look like they were charred black from fire. So they have like these like little cheddar jalapeno bites that are completely black. They just look like black balls, and you're like, what? And you bite into them, and it's delicious, delicious, tasty, right? And they have a burger that's like also supposed to be charred. The bun is completely black, right? But it tastes good. It's not actually burned. It's like they just figured out how to make these foods truly like jet black, like they've been burnt to a crisp. So really good stuff there. A lot of good drinks as well. I got to try some unique stuff. Like, it's not often that you get to drink mead, but they had a really fantastic, I want to say it was a blackberry currant mead that was just so good. I got that both days that I was there, as well as a bunch of other alcoholic beverages and other non-alcoholic beverages as well. So that was one of my favorite spots. That is a quick service dining spot, so you can order through the app and then go in and pick up your food. I will say this place, and I hope they will make an adjustment on this. This is one of the things I suggest to Universal. They need a little bit more seating. It's a very small tavern inside with a little bit of standing room tables, and then they have a back patio that has, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 tables. And so there were always people looking for a place to so they'd get their food, and they're kind of like, there's not quite enough. So just be wary of that. When you go in, if you're with a group, maybe have someone find a spot where you can stand and have a little table or whatever and hold that spot for you. Um, and hopefully they will add more seating in the future. The next restaurant in the land is Das Steakhouse. This one is an homage to Dracula. And this quick service dining hall is themed to an inn that's built over the ruins of ancient catacombs. So they warn you, don't go down to the catacombs because the vampires may get you.
I ate here, and the
You ate there.
salmon, woo, one of the best theme park salmons I've ever had, cooked to perfection, had like a little knife in it.
I heard
Delicious.
the same thing, that
Yeah,
same dish. Like, and you would think
delicious.
salmon's just kind of boring, right? Like, oh,
Nope,
no, I heard it was
nope.
amazing. Yeah.
It was great, and the servers were great, and the chandeliers, everything is dark and crypt-like, and yeah, it was
And
really,
at,
I'd eat there again for sure.
and as a dining hall, that location has a lot more seating,
Hmm.
correct? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is a good spot to go where even though it's quick service and you order through the app, you can go and sit down, take your time, and hang out with your family or your friends. The third spot is called DeLacy's Cottage. Now, this is just a quick service snack hut that is kind of over near the Burning Blade. They have snacks like I saw a lot of people getting these cinnamon. They were like almost like Auntie Anne's, it's like cinnamon buns with like icing all over them. It was like little cinnamon bite. They looked so good. Like so many people were getting those, like, and they were just like, "Oh, these are so good." I didn't get to try them, but they looked delicious. And they had cool pretzels that were like shaped like Frankenstein and whatnot. Bree, I think you were saying that you got to try some of those
Yes,
snacks, right?
I got to try those and they were delicious. They were absolutely delicious.
Yeah. So that's a cool, and that, like I said, that's just a snack hut. It's not like a indoor location. You just walk up and you can order there at the window, and get your snacks and walk with them. That is it for the food options there. This Dark Universe also has three shopping locations. They have Pretorius's Scientific Oddities, the Manor Storehouse, and the Guild of Mystics. Those first two are full on stores that are indoor. The Guild of Mystics is over by the Curse of the Werewolf and is an open air shopping area. Very much like you would see if you were going to a carnival or something like that. So it's just kind of like a cart and a couple things set out there. But that's where you can get jewelry and trinkets and things like that. Um, yeah, but I think that's about it for Dark Universe. Like I said, I really love this land. I love the attention to detail that they put into it, and that we finally full time get an homage to what really built Universal as a studio in the first place, and these classic monsters that have been around for 100 years and more now. So,
Prediction of what they might do at Halloween time. Do you think that
ooh,
they might try to plus anything up for Halloween, or you think it just
I don't
it's good the way
know.
it is?
I don't know, and I didn't say this earlier, but I mean, as I said in general, I think this park is so great at night. So I will definitely recommend if you have time, it depends on the hours of the park, that it would be great to see Dark Universe at night, to be able to be in that village in that dark, mysterious environment, and see the crackling electricity on the Frankenstein's manor and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I wonder. I don't know if they're gonna do something for Halloween, but that would be really cool.
Well, we've escaped the dark universe and we're turning left and now feeling a little lighter as we enter the wizarding world. So now let's walk over to the wizarding world of Harry Potter, the Ministry of Magic. And Gregory, you're going to walk us through this one. So tell us about walking through this portal.
So at this point, you are now approaching the portal into the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic. And just so you kind of have an idea as to where this is in relation to the rest of the park, at this point, you are, if you're looking from the front entrance of the park, you're in the back right corner of the park. That's where this whole area is situated, or this world is situated, rather. Once you have walked through the portal, you'll look up at the portal and you'll see that there is a whole like little statue with a wand in the air. And that is on, you're in the Wizarding World. But as you walk through the portal, you will see a little time turner as part of the theming within the Wizarding World, because time turners are how we're able to travel through time within the Wizarding World. Now, walking into the Wizarding World, you're going to walk in through the portal, and while you're going through the portal, you'll hear the music change over to that classic Harry Potter soundtrack that we all know and love. And then you'll see, these like kind of like magical, like lighting effects of sorts that are kind of glowing around you with the screens. And when you walk in, you're going to be greeted with like this like subway tile kind of area, because to get into the Wizarding World, it is not a straight shot. You can either go left or right, and you have to walk around this tile wall. Once you have gone around this wall, because you are utilizing what is called Metro Flu. Now, for those of us who may not be as familiar with the Wizarding World lore, The Flu Network is a method of transportation used by the wizards and witches of the Wizarding World as a way to get to and from places without having to take, 5 hours to get to that location by utilizing fireplaces. Now, with Metro Flu, it's a little bit different. It's almost like a subway system, except for the Flu Network, but the same concept remains the same. Now, once you have utilized the Flu network to get into 1920s Paris, which is where this whole land is situated, you're going to be greeted with a humongous archway. It is absolutely stunning because one thing to note that is different about this Wizarding World compared to the other two is that this one was built in full scale, a 1-to-1 scale. Whereas the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Diagon Alley, and Hogsmeade had to utilize forced perspective as they were built into an existing park. Wizarding World Ministry of Magic was built ground up and was not confined by existing other parts of the park. So it is built in a 1-to-1 scale.
I
which is
didn't even
why-
realize that until you said it right now. That's so cool.
Yes, it's a very stunning way to be greeted because it's just everything is so humongous around you, like having to look up, and it's just like, how is this real? Because it's so much to take in. Now, inside the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, once you have proceeded under that archway, actually, if you look behind you on the archway, you're going to see a giant, like, eagle-style bird that is on that archway, like, looking down toward the area.
Is it a phoenix? Is it supposed to be the phoenix?
I think it's Phoenix, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
But the area is actually called Place Cachet. It's the Parisian name because this area is situated within 1920s Paris. So, for those of you thinking that you're going to see the night bus here, no, you won't. Now, getting in, you are going to be greeted with all the lovely facades of 1920s Paris, and straight in front of you, you're going to see a circus tent, which makes you think, what is going on here? Because why is there a circus tent in the middle of 1920s Paris? Now, that is actually one of the attractions within the land. However, it also qualifies as entertainment because it is not a ride, it is a show. This show is called Le Cirque Arcanil. And this show, which again, if you're not familiar with the Wizarding World, is going to be a little bit hard to understand. However, this show is very much like the Bourne Stuntacular at Universal Studios Florida, where there is a pre-show to explain how this whole story works out. Now, I don't want to give it too much away, but I can kind of give a little like general like TLDR as to kind of like the storyline of the show. And that is Newt Scamander, who is, found within the Fantastic Beasts series, has been hunting, or not necessarily hunting, but looking for these fantastic beasts and, how to care for them. And there is a circus ringmaster by the name of Ringmaster Skender who wants to utilize these animals in his circus. Now, obviously, that's not right. So, obviously, Newt Scamander is trying to find his way back. But the whole show is about half Cirque, half Fantastic Beasts. But the pre-show will start off with the Fantastic Beasts segment with a couple of house elves, which, by the way, that first introduction is kind of funny because you'll see a house elf banging themselves against the cage. I mean, it's kind of funny. I couldn't help but laugh the first time I saw that. But once the whole pre-show goes through, they're explaining what this show is about and how Ringmaster Skender has finally found Newt Scamander's creatures. The pre-show goes through, and I'm not going to spoil what all is in here because some of the effects are really cool in this pre-show. It is honestly impressive because I'm still trying to figure out how on earth they did it. Because some of these things, like, how did they do that? Because you can't see what it is that makes it possible to do that because they hit it so well.
Magic.
Now, yeah, exactly. It's magic.
I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah,
exactly. It's magic. It's the Wizarding World. Why wouldn't it be magic?
it's
But
magic.
when you pre-show is finished, they'll be like, "Welcome to Le Cirque Arcanil," and the whole curtain will reveal an entryway to the actual theater for the show. Once you are seated in the show itself, so the whole experience from start to finish, including the pre-show, which is one thing to know, the show times for the Cirque Arcanil, that show time is from the start of the pre-show, not the start of the show within the theater. Because this is a show that is going to be set up where they're able to run it continuously. Like, I think it's like every hour and a half, they want to be able to run the show. So it's going to be continual running. But that showtime is the start of the pre-show. So do keep that in mind. You cannot roll up 5 minutes before and expect people to get in because it also fills up very, very fast. So do keep that in mind as well. Now, the whole experience is right around 20 to 25 minutes, including the pre-show and the actual show. It is absolutely fantastic. The Cirque acts are awesome. The Fantastic Beasts are also really fun. A couple of them, one of them is actually kind of funny with how he decides to appear on the stage. And then there is this one huge transition moment. I can't say what it is because that is like the key moment in the show part of the show where you're like, whoa.
Yeah, it's Broadway level good show. To me, this is a must see. This is a must see. If you're going to Epic Universe, you've got to see Le Cirque au Canoe and another show that we're talking about later in the episode. And yeah, I could see that show again and again, and I'm sure I wouldn't be able to figure out how they did everything.
If I'm remembering my show counts correctly, I am at, I believe, 6 times seeing that show at this point because it is just that good of a show. Now, I will say I slightly prefer the other show just due to it having a little bit more wow moments, but Le Cirque Arcanu has the big wow moment of the shows. Now, once you have exited the show, you're going to come back out into Place Cachet and you're going to be back out on the streets in 1920s Paris. And then the only other attraction in the area is what everybody has absolutely been loving so far is Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry. Once you have entered the line, this line is absolutely stunning. Like you genuinely feel you have stepped into the movies when this one happens. Now, what's interesting is that you step from 1920s Paris into the Ministry of Magic, but this part of the Wizarding World lore is not within 1920s Paris. It is actually set more within the existing timeline of the Wizarding World movies at actual Ministry of Magic in London. Now, you're probably wondering, how does this work? This is actually a fun one. I don't want to spoil it because it's kind of a neat little trick that they make to make the immersion work. But I will say, ask one of the Aurors when you're going into the line. They'll be able to explain exactly how this whole thing works. Now, obviously, if you've ever seen the Harry Potter movies, you know the Flu Network is a thing. And I won't say how they do it, but you do utilize that to be able to access the Ministry of Magic. I know Jessica got to experience it. She absolutely loved it. I'm not sure if anyone else got to experience it either. Oh, I see Doug did get to experience it, it looks like.
I didn't get to do the ride, but when we had our team member previews, because as you alluded to, the queue is so
It's
extensive.
stunning.
It and is stunning. So they had that open like it was just an attraction. I'd never seen someone like, you just want to walk through this queue. Just yeah, come on
Oh,
in, trust us. And I was
absolutely.
so impressed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
it's
the queue
massive.
yeah,
Massive. Oh my
the
goodness.
queue itself takes like a good 10 minutes to walk through, and that's a massive queue. Now, one thing to note is that because of the virtual line, it does make it a lot easier for your line to not be anywhere near as long as it would be if there was not virtual line. Because the line is built to hold up to 8 hours worth of people in that line.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So if you get a virtual line, consider yourself lucky because that will save your butt in terms of how long of a line you may have to wait in. Now, unfortunately, this is the Ministry of Magic attraction. It is prone to having technical issues due to it being a first of its kind attraction. Now, it's kind of hard to describe the ride system, but from how it feels perspective, and Jessica can attest to this, it feels very much like Spider-Man. The difference is you have a seatbelt instead of an actual lap bar. So it's very easy to get like bucked around a little bit. Like some of its movements are a lot more aggressive than you would expect it to be.
Hmm.
Now, time to backtrack a little bit because we don't go through the line experience. Once you have entered into the Ministry of Magic, you are utilizing the Flu Network and a time turner simultaneously. It's a very complex wizarding world magic, but when done right, it provides amazing results. as is proven when you enter the Ministry of Magic. Now, once you have exited your Flu network, you are going to look over to your left, and I kid you not, your first words are probably going to be like, holy crap, because it is so huge. The detail, like the attention to detail in that area alone is impressive. You have the giant statue and fountain in there, all the offices on the wall, the giant poster, like the banners that have like, the talking banners, and it is stunning to go through. Once you enter the line, though, it's really cool because you get to explore more of the ministry that you actually really don't get to see in the movies. Because what we see in the movies is mainly just like areas that are like Department of Mysteries and such. We don't get to see like the more like public access areas, so to speak. So you get to go through like 2, 3, 4. It's like a good like 9 or 10 rooms, but there are 2 rooms in particular that stick out. One, you'll get to go through Dolores Umbridge's office, which, for those of you who are not familiar, Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry, part of this attraction story, is that Dolores Umbridge will finally be facing trial for the crime she has committed. Which, yes, that does include torturing Harry Potter. And then the other room is another room that has talking portraits of the Aurors that have worked for the Ministry of Magic. And it's absolutely stunning experience. You're walking through it, the detail in there is also incredible. Now, when you're like the rest of the line is not the most special, but the detail is very much there. There's a couple of other parts of the line I kind of want to keep, keep that a surprise. Like, obviously, do you know Dolores Umbridge's office? But I'm not telling you anymore because there's some fun little stuff in there. Like, effects are awesome. But when it comes time to board the ride, it has a dual station setup, so it's side by side. So you'll have one on the left, one on the right. It can actually load 2 vehicles at a time on either side, and it's got separate load and unload. Now, the vehicles themselves are more like a Tower of Terror ride vehicle, or for those of you in California that may not have ridden Tower of Terror, Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout is a very similar ride vehicle to that in terms of how it loads. However, instead of 3 rows, there is 2 rows.
How many people, Gregory?
So it can hold up to 14 people in one vehicle. The way the loading system is set up is there are 2 aisles you can board through. They will group you accordingly. If you are a party of 2, they're going to load you in the front row because there are 3 sets of 2 seats in the front row. So that right there is your 6 seats. The back has 8 seats. So if you have larger parties, they're going to group you in the back of the vehicle.
Gotcha.
Now, I will say the best seat is definitely toward the middle of the vehicle. There's only 2 rows, so it doesn't make that huge of a difference. But in terms of how you're seeing it, the middle of the vehicle is best for where all the focal points are. So it is essentially Tower of Terror and Spider-Man in terms of how the ride feels. There are some very surprising elements in this attraction. I will not say what because one of them, I know Jessica was surprised by it too, will blow you away because you have animatronics in the park, and that's one thing that this park does fantastic is there's a lot less screen-based attractions. Now, due to the attraction that Ministry of Magic is, it's kind of hard to avoid using screens. However, they did a great job integrating animatronics and screens into this attraction. And it's not like there's too many screens on this attraction. It feels like a proper usage of the screens. But one of the animatronics will blow you away. That's all I can say.
The whole thing blew me away, Gregory. I think that this was not necessarily my most anticipated attraction in the park, but I left feeling like it was the greatest thing I had been on since Rise of the Resistance. Honestly, it was phenomenal. I am still blown away by some of the things that it was, and I definitely have had some people ask me about thrill level in terms of how scary it is. I will say that if you're concerned about like it's got a little bit of that like weightlessness type of feeling, like maybe a little bit of a drop, but mostly in the same way that Spider-Man would. So I think that that's a really great attraction to compare it to. Spider-Man being the one at Universal Islands of Adventure, of course. And so other than that, it's really something very similar to maybe the other Harry Potter attraction, Forbidden Journey. And so if you can handle Forbidden Journey, I think that you can handle Battle at the Ministry. Would you agree with me?
I would say yes. It's just the way the ride system is. I feel like honestly, that's one thing that is worth noting is that the ride system for Forbidden Journey is very much prone to making people sick, but that is due to the ride system combined with how it utilizes its screens. Whereas with Battle at the Ministry, the screens are not wrapping around your vehicle. You're not focused on one little point. Like there's a lot of stuff going around, so you can look around and see all the stuff happening during the attraction. And on top of that, the music on the ride is also fantastic with the onboard audio. Because let's be honest, you can't build a ride themed to Harry Potter without having onboard audio. I mean, but once you have finished the experience, you'll return back to your elevator loading day. And that's one thing that's neat is the station looks just like the elevator bays from the movies. The only difference is that instead of backing out of the elevators like doing the movies, you go sideways. But that's just due to the ride system. It was kind of unavoidable. But when there is no vehicles in that station, you can actually look and see posters from various different times in the Wizarding World about, different, events and, characters that are in that area. And it's really neat to see and like kind of like fun little Easter eggs. But when you return, you are going to exit the attraction and you're going to use the exact same method that you used to get into the Ministry of Magic. You're going to be using the Flu Network and a time turner to get back out of the Ministry of Magic. Now, when you're exiting the attraction, you're going to go past and you can get your on-ride photos. Now, this is one of the things really neat. The on-ride photos part, while I have not gotten one of my friends does have one, and it is an absolutely stunning on-ride photo because the photo is set up like one of the newspapers from the Wizarding World with your vehicle's photo as the headlining photo.
Oh, that's so cool. How
And I
unique.
believe when you are looking at it, like digitally, it also has the whole moving effect on it too. So that is also a really neat effect as well.
Very
Uh,
clever.
Now going back out into Place Cachet, you are going to go into one of these stores, which is the exit for the Ministry of Magic attraction, which is actually really interesting. And it's called Tour on Flu. This is where you're going to find a majority of Ministry of Magic specific related merchandise. However, you are able to find that at the front of the park as well. However, if you're looking for something very specific to that land that may not have it at the front of the park, this is where you want to look for that particular merchandise. And you can find, a hoodie, you can find an Aura jacket, which is a windbreaker. It's a really nice jacket. There's a jean jacket, which I have, which is it's really comfortable. On the front of it, there's a little crest on the left side. It has a time turner on it with its chain, and the back has the Ministry of Magic logo on it. It's a really nice jacket. And I will be honest, I have spent more on merch than I care to admit. But that is one of the stores. You'll also find some
Wait, that is a
Umbridge related
danger.
stuff here.
That is certainly a danger of Epic Universe, is the merch is for sure on point. I was hoping that there was going to be some Stardust Racers merch. That would be my only note, is that I'd love to see some more merch of the coasters, specifically Stardust Racers. But the amount of merch at this park, ooh, it was very, very dangerous. We'll all have to do a little merch haul at the end and
Yeah,
say all
I
the things we got.
remember when we were there, you were really deciding if you should get that
Oh,
jacket.
I know. I did. I got it. I got a Epic Universe
Um,
hoodie, but a
but
rain jacket.
So that's just one of the stores in there. And then there's also Dolores Umbridge related stuff in there. So for those of you that actually do like her for whatever reason, you can get like a little like journal that would be like Dolores Umbridge, like the signature pink and everything, along with a couple other things as well. Like her like cat plates, I believe is one of the things you could get. But then there's also some general, just like Hogwarts related stuff here as well. Not quite sure why, but there is. Doesn't make sense because we're in 1920s Paris. And then one of the other stores in the area, this is where you're going to find a lot of apparel in this section. And it is actually really neat because that particular store has it's called Les Galeries Mirifiques. And this is what they are calling a fashionable department store where visitors will find uniforms from international wizarding schools, a variety of wizarding gear, memorabilia, and much more. Now, if you think you're going to find a wand here, no, you will not, because that is saved for another store located a little further down, which I'll get to in just a minute. Now, and here you can actually find actually one of my favorite things in here. This is Epic exclusive merchandise. This is not able to be found inside Universal Studios Florida or Islands of Adventure or even City Walk. And it is Quidditch uniforms for each of the
What?
Hogwarts houses. So you can find a Ravenclaw, Slytherin, Gryffindor, and Hufflepuff. They're Quidditch outfits. You can get your own Quidditch outfit matching your shirt and shorts in there, amongst other things. There was a like a quarter zip Hogwarts crest jacket. That's all that I wanted to get. I did not. I really wish I had. Amongst a whole host of other things. And then there's also like a tiny bit of jewelry in here. Not anything crazy, but just like fun little like Wizarding World jewelry. And so that's going to be one of the probably like that's probably one of the bigger stores in terms of you're trying to find Wizarding World merch. Um, and then right across the way from it, you'll find K. Ramel. This is actually a candy store. When you think candy store, you are not going to be hit with the smell of sugar the second you walk in, because this is not the traditional candy store where you got, a whole wall of like jelly beans and stuff on here. This is all candy that is going to be more exclusive to the Wizarding World. So yes, you will find chocolate frogs here. Every wizard's favorite chocolate treat is a chocolate frog. Amongst, you can find a butterbeer chocolate bar, or at least a butterbeer bar, if I think that's what it actually is, amongst a whole host of other, Wizarding World specific treats. And that's not exclusive to just butterbeer. You're going to find other things like magical candies. Surprise, we're not. If this wasn't 1920s Paris, I'm pretty sure Fred and George Weasley would have found a way to put their store there. But then the one store that a lot of people are going to be wondering is, where can we get our wands? Because Epic Universe is home to its own selection of wands that you cannot find at Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure. Because in Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure, you are visiting Ollivanders, where the saying is, the wand chooses the wizard. Whereas here at Ministry of Magic in Paris, you are going to Cosme Acahor Baguette Magique. It's a
One more
long
time.
name. Most people will just call it Cosme Acahor.
Okay.
But
What'd you
her
call me?
theory is the wand chooses the wizard, but the wizard does have a say in how it looks. But this is going to be the store where you find your wand. Now, I do want to make a note that this store does sell all three generations or all three types of wands that Universal has to offer. So you will not find any Ollivander's wands here. However, you will find the character wands, including one of which is Dolores Umbridge's, which is not going to be found at the other two parks. So we do get a new character wand out of it. You will find the Cosme Acahor wands, which are very different, and they're more like pretty, like artistic kind of vibes. And then you will find these second generation interactive wands. These are a new type of wand that Universal just released at the beginning of March. These wands have the ability to sync with the Universal app, and you can do interactive scavenger hunts throughout the Wizarding World land. It will take you on quests to do different spells, and you can actually earn points toward your house's cup for doing different tours. And it does adjust automatically. So if there's only, two Ravenclaws, but like say 60 Gryffindors, it's going to weigh it accordingly. It's not going to be like, oh, there are more Gryffindors, they're going to win by default. It's going to take the amount of points and weigh it based on how many people were in there. So if there's only two, Ravenclaw is going to weigh more because there's only two of them.
That's
The
so
second
cool.
generation
I'm so
ones are
glad they
even
finally done that.
And it's even more cool because those second generation wands, they also have haptics and light effects. Your wand will vibrate with any of the spells that you do, and the tip will light up depending on what spell you are performing. Now, do note that these wands are a little bit more expensive, about $10 more than the standard original ones, which are about $70. These ones are around $80 to $85. So my recommendation is, if you are going to get one, I would recommend getting the second generation because you get a lot more interactive features with the land due to this. When it comes to pairing your wand, you just have to have the Universal app on your phone and a second generation wand. Unfortunately, the original wands that you find at Ollivanders and the character wands, as well as even the Cosme Acahor wands, are all first generation wands. You will not be able to use the interactive feature with them. However, you can still use the app to pull up a digital map of where all the spells are within the lands. However, you just will not have the adventure mode on there. The adventure mode is really cool because it gives you this time you get to explore all these little nooks and crannies. And also, there's a big difference. The first generation wands, you simply perform a spell. However, the second generation ones, because of the interactive feature and the adventure mode, oftentimes that one spell you do has maybe even 2 or 3 more spells that you do in conjunction with it, creating this much more elaborate interactive feature. Which is why I would say if you have to get one, I would recommend one of the second generation ones. However, do note they only have 4 second generation designs as opposed to the 9 that the first generations have. There will also be a 5th one coming out soon that is exclusive to Epic Universe only. However, that has not been released yet.
Interesting. Doug, you were waving a wand around. I could see you. Did you get a wand at Epic Universe?
No, this is my old one, first
Oh, okay.
generation. I don't know. But I
That's one of
did have
the
a question.
original first generation ones.
I did have a question for Gregory. For people who are hard of hearing or have vision impairments, do you know if Universal Epic Universe provides any adaptive technologies for guests?
Yeah, they do. It's something you do have to talk to the guest services team about, but most attractions have a way to have like some kind of like closed captioning, translation services if it's a show, or like some kind of device that allows you to translate that audio if needed. And then like for low vision, it's not as huge of an issue because they're very tactile. There's a lot of physical things. And also it can be described. A lot of what Epic Universe has is so like intricately detailed that trying to describe it is very easy to make that translation and easy to picture in your head because there's so many details that you can give. It makes it easier for that person to get that mental image of what is going on.
And I would say you were able to wear, you have an assisted hearing device, right? What you
Yes,
were
I
able to wear
have the
that on.
cochlear implant, so I am deaf I don't have any hearing whatsoever. So these are how I hear to begin with. Now, there is only 2 rides in the entirety of Epic Universe I could not wear my ears on. One of which, for obvious reasons, Stardust Racers. The other was in Isle of Berk with Dragons Racer Rally. Now, obviously, you'll be able to talk about that later, but those are the only 2 that I had to worry about. Crazy enough, the water ride, my ears were fine on,
Wow.
which is crazy thing because these are not waterproof. Everything except for those 2 attractions, my ears were fine on, which is crazy. Now, to get into the food offerings, the Wizarding World does not have as large of a menu as some of the other areas do. When you first enter the Wizarding World, on the left, you're going to see a little restaurant called the Café de la Sirene, if I remember correctly. I had to remember the pronunciation. But it is where you will find one of the biggest and probably newest and probably most popular draw to the Wizarding World's food lineup, and that is the butterbeer crepe. Now, I did want to get this. However, they had a massive line the one time they had the butterbeer crepe, and the rest of the time they did not have the butterbeer crepe available due to how popular it is. Now, for my friends who have had it, said it is absolutely huge, and you can definitely split it between at least 2 or even 3 people. So do keep that in mind. If you do get the butterbeer crepe, or really any of the crepes in general, they are big. They are worth splitting. Now, this restaurant does also serve breakfast too. So if you are trying to get breakfast while you're at the park, this is a location to go to as well. Now, their menu offerings, I did not get a chance to look at that. And unfortunately, due to the fact that we're not in the park, we cannot pull up the menu to see what their menu offerings are. You have to be inside the park to pull up the menu offerings, unfortunately. Now, they do have a wide variety of breakfast items there, and you will almost always be able to find something to get while you're there. And then, like any Wizarding World, right across the pathway in between the Cirque Arcanu and Ministry of Magic, you are going to find a butterbeer cart. Because what Wizarding World doesn't have a butterbeer cart? Now, I have not gotten any from there, but it is the same recipe as what you will find in the other parks. So don't fret if you've had it before or if you haven't. You will be able to try it elsewhere, I promise. And then there is one quick table service restaurant inside the Wizarding World, and that is Le Goblet Noir. Now, this one is actually kind of tucked away, and you really don't know it's there unless you specifically go look for it. Because there's not a big sign, the doors aren't kept open. Like, it is very much like this little secluded area. Now, I have not eaten there personally, and I haven't really been able to explore the menu myself since I hadn't actually been able to eat there. But I did have a time where I got to go in there one time just to see how it looked around. And they do have an absolutely I'm probably one of the few people that does enjoy this, but they had a really good lavender lemonade there. So if you're a fan of lavender lemonade, I would highly recommend going to Le Goblet Noir to get your lavender lemonade fix. Very
My
recommend that.
my group got to eat there, and the food was very good. They being that it's in Paris, they have one of the most traditional Parisian dishes, which is coq au vin. It's like chicken and wine sauce, like a wine mushroom sauce. And it was very, very tasty. We sampled just like two or three dishes, and the food came out quick and was really good. And we also had drinks at Le Goblet Noir as well, and the drinks were really good as well. So
They do have a bar there, so that's also a
yeah,
great place, especially with it being like kind of tucked out of the way. If you're trying to find a place that has like some alcoholic drinks, that might not be a bad place to go because it is kind of hidden. You may encounter much less of a wait time there to get your drinks. And do note that the Goblet Noir, doing that quick table service, you do not have to go to the bar to order that drink. You can do it at your table when you mobile order. So do not panic. If you have like social anxiety about ordering in person, that is fine. Just make sure you have your ID ready because they will need to check that when they try to serve you it. Other than that, go ham on it. Now I did want to bring up one thing I did actually briefly forget about, and that is they have a fun little like quartet style music group that likes to come out every so often. It doesn't look like they really have set show times, but they do tend to come out around the ends and starts of the Cirque Arcaneo. Because every time I've seen it, I was about to go see the show or I'd just come out of it. And it's really cute because they come out with a little music box that has an absolutely adorable creature on it that makes these cute little chirping noises. They don't think they actually don't tell us what kind of creature it is. I don't remember, but they did bring it around so we could look at him closer. The name is Plume, by the way. Absolutely adorable. But you'll have a trumpet, a clarinet, and a trombone that come out. And they will rotate around, like we'll swap out, oh, one of them will switch to like a triangle or something like that, depending on what song they're trying to play. I've heard a little bit of jazz music, I've heard a bit of like more classical, like they kind of have a little bit of everything. And it really fits the vibe of the 1920s Paris area because that very much feels like, hey, we're gonna put a little pop-up band. This kind of music very much fits that. So it is really fun. They're also a little bit comedic as well because they're like, "Oh, we hate this. We hate this music box," and then 5 seconds later, they're like, "Oh, we love this thing," you know. But it is a really cute thing to see. So if you do get to see it, it's about 10, 15 minutes, and it's just a small little outdoor. Everybody's standing, but they do have some really great crowd interaction as well. So if you're not afraid of getting crowd interaction, they're also great to talk to as well.
I feel like this was just Universal keeping in tune with all of their other Harry Potter lands because they all have some kind of performance element. You got Celestina Warbeck and her group that sings at Hogsmeade,
Absolutely, yeah.
and you've got the Tri, I forget what it is that they
Triwizard
do, the
Spirit Rally
Triwizard
and the
Spirit
Frog
Rally.
Choir.
Right, exactly. So it was perfect to see that they had just an outdoor, random, non-scheduled performance of characters there that was really vibey. Like we were dancing to the music. We were like, okay, this is kind of like carnival. It's cool, like 20s jazz and a lot of fun.
And
Really just a land that I feel like you could spend or excuse me, a world that I feel like you could spend a long time in. And I want to say for the two other huge Harry Potter fans on the podcast right now, Bree and Doug, I feel like we haven't heard from you enough as to your vibes for this land. So Bree, while you're waving your wand around over there, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
As I grab my elder wand. Um, I one, this is a little bit different because I grew up classic Harry Potter with the books and everything. So trying to get into the Fantastic Beast world of it was an adjustment for me. I've watched the movies, but I don't have that connection to those movies like I do with the traditional Harry Potter movies. So, but going in, I was very impressed. Like Gregory mentioned, the scale of it and how the magic is still there. So for someone like me who did not have that emotional connection to this side, can still go in and feel the Harry Potter magic throughout the land. And then I did get to go through the queue for ministry. So having, experiencing the Food Network and and then going back into that Harry Potter that that's within me, that felt really good. I ate there at the cafe at the front, the large quick service restaurant, and I would recommend the creme brulee. I had that. 3 people in my party had that, and we all still rave about it. So I would recommend that. Again, I actually was part of the first public that was able to go into the park. I went with a Universal Creative, specifically team member preview. So it was very new, very, like I said, I couldn't take any pictures or anything. So the show wasn't running yet, so I didn't get a chance to see that. So Ministry is the land that I'm actually looking forward to going back to the most so that I can experience it more in depth.
And I actually kind of want to go back on that because, like, this land is very much tailored to a very specific demographic, but that is also the case with all the other lands. Each world has its strengths and weaknesses purely because it's targeted towards specific demographics. With Ministry of Magic, it's targeting toward, the people who grew up with Harry Potter and all people who are now growing up with Harry Potter and loving the lore that comes with it. And so the other lands are also going to have the same things that some people are not necessarily going to enjoy the Wizarding World as much as, say, they might enjoy, Super Nintendo because that was their thing when they were growing up. Now, for me, it was not my thing. My thing, Harry Potter. So my personal preference was Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic. And so this is definitely a land to focus your time on, especially if you are a Potter fan, because there's just so much detail in this land. Just for a little bit of context, this park cost $7 billion to build. And you can tell that a lot of that went into just this land alone, especially the ride. I mean, it's kind of obvious when you go through the line. Um, but if there is one thing that I say you have to do while you're in here, make sure you do it the show because like the Cirque Arcanu, you are at least able to get into that without needing a virtual line. It's much more likely you're going to be able to get into it. And also it is almost continually running. So as long as you catch it at least once, during one of its showtimes, you should be fine. Now, if you are able to get a virtual line from Battle at the Ministry, 100% do that. Like I'm telling you, just do that because that is 100% worth it. But if you can see both of them, absolutely. But like even the theming, the thematic details that you see here are really cool. Like this even extends into the bathrooms of all places. You go into the bathrooms, one of the details in here, there is not a hand dryer in any of the Wizarding World bathrooms because this is 1920s Paris. So all the ways to dry your hands, they are paper towels.
Operated by magic.
Magic paper towels.
But no, they're physical paper towels. You do have to pull them. And, like the sinks are automatic ones, but that's just so they can save water. But like otherwise, like the physical appearance, everything, it all looks like very like 1920s. Like this does not like they really put the attention to detail. Because this isn't just for this land, like this is just all the lands. Like they made sure that if there was a specific time period or whatever they're in, they made sure to make sure that whatever details they had there matched up with whatever lore that land has. Bree?
There's also no Coke products in that land for that reason as well. Just wanted to add a little tidbit.
And that is true even in the existing Wizarding World lands in Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure, because they are trying not to break the immersion. So you will find Gilly water, the lavender lemonade, coffees, teas, orange juice, anything but Coke products. If you do want to find Coke products, if you go back out into Celestial Park, Meteor Astropub is right around the corner. They have Coke products there available.
And now, last but definitely not least, to the left, we walk out of the wizarding world. And is that a dragon? Doug, do we have dragons?
Yes, we, my friends, have dragons.
Yeah!
That's what it says on the portal as you're entering. So yeah, Isle of Berk. This is a land that I feel like most of my friends were most surprised by. Just walking in, just the scale of everything, dragon scale. But like this one
We're
does.
laughing, Doug. We're laughing.
Unlike the Wizarding World, this one does use force perspective. It makes it look like there are huge hills and mountains. There are magical little touches everywhere with dragon tails hanging out of their little homes and everything. There's a little body of water when you enter. For anyone who's been to Plopsaland or Holiday Park, it reminds me of the Vic the Viking theme section. Similar to that, but on a bigger scale, like much more impressive even. And also something I just learned was this takes place apparently it's between the second and third How to Train Your Dragon films. So I didn't realize that is where it was happening. Although there are like a couple of inconsistencies apparently, like baby dragons maybe didn't show up in that second move or I don't know. But there's a little bit of that. That's when it kind of takes place. And the main attraction for coaster enthusiasts, of course, is Hiccup's Wing Gliders. It's an Intamin launch family coaster. You're on a themed wing contraption. There are animatronics. There are themed sections, a little storytelling on it. You see some of your favorite characters. I am obsessed now with those baby dragons, which you see a couple times, and they're so cute. The queue for it is not really themed at all. So it doesn't have an immersive theme, and it does have the lockers that you are free to use. And one thing that I want to tell you guys, which it's facial recognition for the lockers, but Derek and I, being twins, wanted to test out if we could, in fact, open each other's lockers. We tried it twice, and it worked both times. So he would get the locker, and I would, after we rode the ride, I would open it up with my face.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, I guess it's helpful for you.
Right,
my
twin brother could be stealing all my stuff.
Yeah, as I say, it's fine as long as you love your brother.
Yeah, I do.
As long as you love your twin.
You don't have like one of those Tom
twin.
Cruise like facial mask things you can put on.
Universal is listening to this and saying, something to correct for the next world.
You're gonna get
no more twin access.
All right.
But I love my twin, and I love Hiccup's Wing Gliders. That coaster surprised me. I rode it multiple times. I rode it at night. It even is cool. One of the things I thought, so this land is right next to Stardust Racers, so you can see it and you can see the track. And I was riding Hiccups on a day when they're only running the yellow side of Stardust Racers. But I was racing while I was on Hiccups. I was racing Stardust Racers. It was lit up and it was at night. It was very cool. So yeah, the coaster is a lot of fun, perfect for families. And then there are a couple other attractions in the land. Two of the rides are ones you may have experienced in a different way at other parks. One of the attractions is Fire Drill. It's a splash battle, which you may have experienced, but it's really coolly themed. They're Viking twins, Rough Nut and Tough Nut from the film How to Train Your Dragon. And they teach you kind of in the queue while you're watching through signs. They teach you which targets to hit, which targets not to hit. You might get sprayed with more water because this is an interactive boat ride. So, and then you're battling you're on one side of the boat and you're a team and the other side is battling against you. So once you get to the end, I think the winning team doesn't get as wet maybe, but I got just doused with water cannons at the end, which was fun. And then there's also the Dragons Racers Rally, which is another interactive ride. It's the Gerstlauer Skyfly flat ride that you may have seen like at Lost Island or Mall of America's Nickelodeon Universe, Toverland, which kind of reminds me of the same thing because that one's themed a little bit to dragons. But this one, there are two of them. So there are two of them side by side, which helps with capacity. And it's themed to you're learning how to fly a dragon. I didn't see a lot of people rotating, flapping their wings, and being able to spin. But I know that Daniel from A to Z Thrills and Beyond, he's spun 8.5 times, which is
Wow.
crazy. I didn't see a lot of people doing it. I did do one rotation. I spun once. It seemed, I don't know if it was more difficult than the other ones or what it was, but it was a lot of fun and I loved it. Then right next door to that is the Viking training camp play area. There are climbing structures, slides, all types of interactive things with dragons. And one of the biggest things and most impressive, I thought, in this land was the Untrainable Dragon live show, which has anyone here been to Universal Beijing or seen the show? So I hadn't either. So I was just really impressed with it. I loved the singing, dancing. I didn't realize there was a musical element, but it's not a musical, I wouldn't call the show, but there's definitely that element. So many cool special effects and dragons, of course, which is so fun to watch. And also next door to that, you can meet Toothless. I know, Jessica, you had that experience. How was
I
that?
did. This world surprised me the most. I have seen all the How to Train Your Dragons, and I actually like my husband like may have helped like work on one of the films. So I'm like connected to the film, but I really Isle of Berk, like it just didn't really sound like something that I was going to be super into. And this land has my whole heart. I loved it so much, from the big, huge Viking ship in the water to the dragons walking around, the amazing Untrainable Dragon show. That, again, Broadway level style. I mean, just incredible work, incredible actors, beautiful screens and special effects. And that, again, that show is a must see. You must see it. And yes, I did get to meet Toothless. Everybody wants that moment where you're able to touch Toothless on his nose there and have that moment. And, you see a bunch of people do it and you're like, all right, this is going to be cute. But nothing can prepare you for this. I don't even want to call it an animatronic because it's a dragon. It's a massive, huge piece of machinery that is real, that is a dragon that I put my hand on, and he looked deep into my eyes, like through my soul. This dragon. Toothless closed his eyes, and I felt the warmth of this and I'm telling you right now, that was magic. That was great. And Hiccup's telling you what to do, and the kid that they hire sounds just like Jay Baruchel, and it was so good. It was a 60-minute wait for Toothless, but so decide for yourself. I almost wish that there was somewhere else that you could just do it to get that picture, even if it was just like a little statue of Toothless or something. Because some people just want the gram. Like some people just want the Instagram moment, right? But the full experience, if you have a kid, and again, the live action is coming out on my birthday, June 13th. And so I think that there's going to be a whole resurgence of How to Train Your Dragon. And this world blew my mind. And yeah, the Toothless experience was 10 out of 10.
That Toothless, just man, it looked and felt so real. I didn't do the experience like you, Jess. I didn't wait in line and all that. We just didn't have the time. But I stood, and you can watch it, if you're not in there.
Mhm.
It's not in a closed area. So I stood and watched people go up and meet him and take photos for a few minutes. I was like, man, it just feels so real. Like just the movements of the head, and so much of it is in the eyes. Like you said it looked
Yeah,
like he looked at you and
he
looked into
did.
your soul. And
He
that's what
did.
it's because of that attention to detail to what the thing can do with its eyes that makes it feel so real. Like it has emotions and it makes different expressions on his face. And that's so cool. I can't imagine being a little kid loving those movies and loving Toothless and then walking in there and getting to interact with that. Like,
Psh, so good. We're all just like,
right,
psh.
right,
That's the word for it. It was top of the line, top theme park experience. incredible moment. I'm ready to buy all the toothless things.
Yeah, I never really considered myself to be a huge How to Train Your Dragon fan, but now I am. Like after seeing those dragons in the show, like I could just watch those dragons all day.
All the Vikings and their fun little attitudes. They really did such a great job casting
They
this whole
totally
land.
did. And I also want to mention for the show, I would recommend if you can sit in the front row of the back section. I sat in that row both times I watched the show, and I thought it was the perfect spot.
Yeah, you don't want to sit too close. There are some elements you might want to sit a little bit further back for. I don't think that's a spoiler.
Yeah, there's some like projection mapping on the on the sides, on the
Yeah.
walls and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And I also too wanted to mention, I know that's been in technical rehearsals and it's still early on kind of in the process of getting the theme park going. If you really want to see the shows, like make sure you go to an early time. Did you see Toothless's offspring? What are their names?
Oh, the Boston Dynamics, little tiny baby dragons. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah, like the ones that are kind of like right next to where Toothless was.
They only come out for very short sets, and I think they were only doing, I think, 4 sets a day, at least during our time. But the videos are all over the internet, and man, they're cool. They're like seeing the BDX droids that we saw,
Yeah,
Star Wars BDX droids. They're as cool as those, if not even cooler. They look so real.
yeah, they're so cute, and they'll wiggle their ears and dance, and then play Toothless Says, which is like Simon Says, with their Viking trainer. Yeah, so I recommend seeing those if you can. And then Ostrid and Stormfly, and then there's the Snow Wrath dragon, which is always out there.
That's the very large, the white one, the real big white one.
Right, yes.
Yes, yeah, man, that was impressive.
I
And
do
then,
think this world potentially could be called Dragon World. That's like what it's gonna be. Like will everybody say Isle of Berk, or will they just say Dragon World?
I'm gonna start calling it Dragon World now. And then Dragon World has some fine dining, or great dining, I should say. They have Mead Hall, which is the main restaurant, and that's one of those quick serve where you sit down at the table, you scan the QR code, and then they have it delivered to you. I ate there and I had a wonderful dinner. It was the Thaw Fest platter. There were 3 of us who shared it, but you could do maybe 2 also. It had like chicken drumsticks, grilled salmon, sausage, and some veggies and French fries, or as they call them, Nordic fries. But you can also buy sandwiches and salads there. And they also have a lot of these restaurants have the Coca-Cola freestyle machines. I don't know if this one has the exclusive flavor, but there are a couple exclusive flavors, like in Dark Universe and Celestial Park. They have the Screamin' Berry and then Celestial Spritz flavors, which were fun to try. But I still kind of always stick with my regular like cherry Coke. But so that restaurant was great and quick. Like we got our food pretty quickly. You can also get the souvenir cups there, which are refillable. And then I ate at all 3 restaurants in Isle of Berk, or Dragon World as we're calling it.
Don't
There's
call
this
it that.
the Spitfire Grill counter service where you wait in a short line and then you order and they have your food right there. That place you can get ancient grains or lettuce or rice, and you get steak, shrimp, salmon, chicken. There's also a veggie option. That was pretty good. I liked that a lot. And then the thing that I think everyone's kind of talking about in this land for food is another stand. It's where you get the macaroni and cheese cones, the mac and cheese cones. So that was Hooligan's Grog and Gruel. I tried all 3 and they were delicious. Yeah,
I heard what are the 3 options, Doug? I heard there was, I think it's what, pulled chicken, pulled pork, and then there's
Yeah,
something
there's
else.
the PBJ, which has the pork bacon and jam, and then there's the Nashville style chicken, and that has peppers. It's a theme park, so it's not too spicy. I could handle it. And then there's the regular macaroni cheese with the goldfish crackers, which I think was my favorite. But they were all delicious, and I enjoyed all of them. Kind of like a cozy cone motel, like California Adventure thing going on.
What's the cone made out of? Is it like a waffle cone?
It's kind of like it's bread, kind of like feels like a
It's like
doughy,
a
like a
bread.
pizza
Okay.
crust.
Okay. Yep.
And then onto shopping, I think, but I didn't really do much. Jessica, did you check out all the stores for that?
What? You know me so well. I did. And when you're exiting Hiccup Swing Gliders, there's a wonderful shop, pins, and anything that you could possibly think of, signs for your like beer themed signs, almost like for your bar at home. Just a lot of really cute dragon trainer type stuff, and any toy you could possibly imagine having to do with dragons, costumes, so much. Yeah.
The eggs seem to be very
Hmm.
popular with the teens and kids. They basically have these big dragon eggs that you can wear like around your neck on a lanyard, and you pop the egg open and see your little dragon, your little baby dragon in there. So that was really cool. See so many people excited about those.
There's a really cool like man's apron, like a chef's kind of like apron that was the mead bar themed. Yeah, there's so much, literally. They thought of everything. This is not a land that didn't that like skimped on their there's nothing there that I again, but would love a Hiccup Wing Gliders, would love some coaster themed, some coaster themed merch.
Yeah, I
They're
would
not
too.
there.
I was looking for attraction based merch, but it was mostly just on the world
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still really great. So
Yeah.
what are your top tips for this place, Doug?
for Dragon World.
For Isle of Berk.
My top tips for Heidelberg. I would recommend if you're short on time and don't mind splitting up your party, the Hiccup Swing Gliders does have a single rider line.
Oh, great tip. And
Yeah,
like you
that's
mentioned
awesome.
earlier, to potentially get to the show earlier if that's a priority for you, which it should be because that show, The
Yeah,
Untitled Dragon,
I would recommend 30 minutes before at least.
is so good. I want to ask the mom in the group here, Brichette, uh, tell me in terms of your thoughts on bringing kids to this park, because I know that some people were, there was talk before previews, hey, is this going to be a park that has enough for kids? My personal opinion, I know what my personal opinion is, but I'd love to hear yours as a mom.
For sure, this is a park where you will get your money's worth with your children. You won't be looking for things to do or activities with the shows that they have. With, I believe, the two most kid-friendly worlds are Super Nintendo World and Isle of Berk. Isle of Berk is like the most complete world when you're looking at the number of rides and things to do. They even have the playground there. Like that is so between Super Nintendo World and Isle of Berk, those two alone, you can take your kids to, depending on their ages, and you won't even need, like, they won't get bored. They won't get bored. So you'll definitely get your ticket money's worth for them. But Isle of Berk specifically, when you're looking at the number of rides and the type of rides, there's a coaster, there's a higher thrill flat ride, there's the water ride that all ages, can partake in. That is just the most complete for the full family. Whereas if you were to go to comparing it to the other family friendly world, Donkey Kong may be a little bit too much for some kids, even though all of the coasters are 48 inches. So they can fit a lot of different ages. But comparing Super Nintendo World to Isle of Berk, Berk really is that family land that you're probably going to spend a lot of time in with your little ones. And then you might venture over to Super Nintendo World, but they may, depending on their ages, want to go back to Isle of Berk, because what kids don't love dragons at all ages, you know?
Yeah.
Have you introduced your son to How to Train Your Dragon? Does he know
Oh
about
yeah.
Toothless? Is
He
he gonna be
knows.
hyped about that?
He's actually hyped about Super Nintendo World because he's
Okay.
7. He's almost 7.5. And actually, I never watched the movies until after going to Epic. Seeing Owl of Berk there inspired me to watch the movies, and now I can't wait to go back with the knowledge and the appreciation for the theming now. And I've shown it to him. I want to take him to Epic, and those are the two worlds that I know that we will be in the most. Even though he does like Harry Potter, again, like we might just do the ride and then we'll leave out because it's not really attractive for kids. But those two, you're not gonna regret taking your little ones to Epic at all. Plus Celestial Park, you have the carousel there, you have the fountains. Like they said, they were trying to put the park back in theme park, and they did a really good job of implementing that with Celestial Park. So that's 3 worlds really, where you and your family, your young children can get enjoyment out of Epic.
Great. And I also, even though Dark Universe is called Dark Universe, and we are comparing it to Halloween Horror Nights, of course, it's not that sort of like jump scary
Right.
kind of, people around the corner trying to jump out and it's it's
Yeah.
more, the characters are almost kind of funny, like Gooch was saying,
Yes.
with the Invisible Man kind of being, shady, and even the storyteller telling a kind of a ghost story. They were talking to the kids about it, and having kids be part of the story. So yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, because that's how I felt as well.
And did we mention the makeup, the monster makeup in Dark Universe that kids can do? Or
Oh,
anyone can do?
no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I didn't see that either.
It's like a face painting, maybe like a bibbity bobbity boutique, BOO. But yeah, but they have that opportunity where kids can get made up to look like monsters. I saw a Bride of Frankenstein and different characters. If
That's
I was
Yeah.
a
really
kid, I would want to
cool.
do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
I guess.
What was really funny to me also, and I don't know if anybody else had this experience, but because the worlds are so immersive, when you are dressed up, or if you're bound or whatever, which is something that I do, which is like really to be on theme for a certain land, and then you go to another land, like you're so out of place.
Mhm. You stick out.
You gotta just do quick changes
When it's
before
like
entering another portal.
when it's like Luigi's hanging out over, with Frankenstein. It's really funny. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess you could. They
Yeah.
should have quick change areas in the portals, maybe, as you're going through.
Right.
So what at the end of Brie?
Just a little tidbit. Sorry. I know the hour is well spent, but I didn't understand why Stardust Racers were the colors that they were. I was like, why is a celestial coaster green and yellow? Like, what is that about? But when you go and you realize that Isle of Berk, it is the background to Isle of Berk, and it fits into the color scheme of that land
Yeah.
so well that
Mhm.
it comes together and it makes sense, because I really was questioning those color choices for that type of coaster and that theming. But unlike the other portals and worlds, Isle of Berk, you can see beyond, you can see past, because the coaster is right there. So it fits in with that land's, that world's theming.
That's a good point. And something else I noticed near there was a tree lit up at night on the other side of Stardust Racers. And I was thinking, like, is that green and yellow, or is that, it was half green and half, was it pink? And I was like, is that hinting at something to come? Who knows?
Ooh,
Mm.
I guess we'll find out.
Unlimited.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't
All
know if
right.
that's it right there. So as we're coming now to the end of this epic, I don't want to say episode,
Oh,
but
you
I know
did
I
the
said
pun.
it.
You
I
did the
know,
pun.
right? I
You
did
did
it. I didn't mean to do it.
it.
Episode or multi-episodes. Any extra travel tips or planning advice for ACE members? What have you all been telling your friends about when they might want to go? Should they go now? Should they wait for more things to roll out? Any strategies that you've been sharing with other people?
I say go now, go right away.
Go when you can.
Yeah.
Yep.
ASAP.
Go when you can. My advice is to do 2 days. Don't rush through. I went at a very special moment. I don't regret it at all, going with no lines. Ooh, how terrible. But I did not get to really immerse myself into the stories of each of the rides because I was just walking straight on. Um, I want to go back and I want to stand in line. I want to experience the cues of these rides. So budget time wise, budget 2 days to really experience each world, each ride for all of the little Easter eggs and as much as you can see. I know we all want to get our credits fast and move on, but really take your time in this park. And maybe if you're doing 2 days, do one day without being on your phone. And then the next day, take all the pictures and everything, but really like get into this new, for me, never seen before, never been done before theme park.
Definitely 2 days. I love all of that. And but I think I would almost I hear you about wanting to go as fast as possible because I did. I do wonder if by, you know what I mean, the end of summer,
Yes.
November, um, a couple more things may have been figured out, smoothed out. I went the first year of Islands of Adventure, and I remember as the months went by, it just kept getting better. So if you are freaking out and or you have, your budget is limited, I would say don't feel bad if you can't get there until November.
That, that's exactly what I was gonna say. I'd say
Yeah.
just base it on, if you have the flexibility to get to Florida multiple times a year, of course, why wait? Go on and check it out now, and because you're gonna go back multiple times. It's a fantastic park. But yeah, if your time and your budget is limited, then I would say you're best served to just wait, give it a little more time. They're still working out the kinks in the
Yeah.
park right now. And I think in, a few months, this park is going to be firing on all cylinders and is going to
Yeah.
provide one of the greatest park experiences available in the world.
Yeah.
And
Give
and and what does this mean for the theme park landscape? The bar
Ooh,
has been raised.
it's been set very high. Ooh,
very high.
mm, man, I don't know. I'm looking at Universal. I mean, we're talking about Epic today, but they're also opening a full-time all year round Horror Nights property in Vegas. They're opening a family and kids park in Texas. They've just got approved a week or two ago to move forward with the development of a full theme park outside of London in the UK. I mean, this company is making big moves, so I just can't wait to see the future of this company because they do exactly what I love as a movie maker, as a filmmaker who loves these stories and these immersive themes and all that. I'm so proud of them. I hope they keep doing it. You know, the bar set is high. We gotta keep it up now.
It is.
Right?
Bree.
To add to the parents and the children, there are a lot of easy ways to do child swap in this park. I was looking at
Mm.
the child swap sections. It's more visible than I've seen in other parks where you can take advantage of child swap. So don't be, afraid that you won't be able to do your thing as well. They've thought of everything in this park.
And yeah, I was noticing that even for friends who don't want to ride the ride but want to experience the queue, it's very easy for them at one point to just get to leave the queue and have hung out with you the whole time.
Right. They can hang out in that child swap area. And in some cases, there's screens in there and things for the, interactive things. That was really nice to see. I think that bar has been raised too. I mean, can another park open right now without this amount of design and storytelling? Ooh, we're all shaking our head. Nobody
No,
knows.
no, they've set the bar. They've created a new standard.
That's a good point. And I also wanted to mention, in case you don't, if you're visiting the park planning, make sure you download the official Universal app before getting there and make sure your location is on because that's an important factor in getting the virtual queue. Both me and my brother, we tried the virtual queue for Ministry of Magic and it's, a lottery kind of system. So it's fast paced. And then I pressed the button, and then all of a sudden it showed up like, oh, make sure the settings are on, allow settings for your location. So it's like, oh, and that delayed the process. So, but yeah, also it can also help just by checking. You don't have to be at the park to check wait times and stuff ahead of time, so you can be anywhere in the world and check and plan out your day before going there. I was just looking at the wait times earlier today when I was looking through the app, trying to make sure I remembered all the correct names of the restaurants.
How'd they look?
The wait times were not bad. They were pretty manageable. Yeah.
And I will say one more thing, just as advice to people for when they want to go to this park. As we've mentioned a few times in this podcast, this park looks fantastic at night. And I know a couple of you didn't get to see it yet like that, but you got Stardust Racers, the incredible lighting. I mean, lighting design all the way around the park, all of the lights, everything. It just looks beautiful. It is a vibe at night. We even talked about the spotlights that go up in the middle of the night and just converge together in the sky. And Dark Universe being this fun, dark place at night. Currently hours are a little bit limited. We'll see where Universal moves with that. I looked at the calendar, for instance, today throughout June. It's open till only 9 p.m. almost every single day. 5 days during the month, they stay until 10, which should give you a little extra time to do some night. My real hope is that this park realizes how special they made it at night, and that eventually we will get kind of like regular 10 p.m., maybe even 11 p.m. Hell, if they want to compete
Ooh,
with Magic Kingdom,
yeah.
midnight. Magic Kingdom stays up till
Midnight.
midnight sometimes. So I would love to see Universal step out on the ledge, and even if that's not what they've done with any of their parks before, to go for some later hours in this park. And so I will say that that's at least an advantage if people are going to wait right now and maybe want to go this fall after daylight savings
Mhm.
time is over. When it's back to getting dark at 5:30 p.m., I'm sure they'll still be able to at least 8 or 9 p.m. So you'll probably get a chance at a lot more night hours if you wait till this fall, because right now in the summertime, you may only get like we're gonna get 40 minutes of dark. All right, so we have time to go see one thing or do one attraction at night. But just keep that in mind as you're planning as well.
Yeah,
Good
and the
tip.
location of the park adds to that being plausible because unlike IOA and Universal Studios, you're not in the midst of a lot of things. You are kind of off to the side where the noise and the lights won't interfere with your neighbors by you. So it could very well, hopefully, let's petition them to stay open till midnight. Let's go. Once they work out their kinks and everything, and they get they're good and going, well-oiled machine, keep it open longer.
Why not 2 a.m.?
Oh,
Why not? Why not
After
24 hours?
Yeah.
I like that
whoa!
idea.
24-hour theme park. Should we
Why
just come
not?
up with something here? Ride with us all night long, every
uh,
night.
I'm so with you, Doug. I can't. I don't imagine it'll ever happen anywhere. But I've said for years, I'm like, I would be totally fine if theme park amusement parks are such a daytime thing in the summer, but I would be great if all parks opened at like 4 p.m. and closed at
Yep.
2 a.m. It's like you get a little bit of the late
That's
afternoon, and then you
perfectly.
just get the night, and it's much cooler in the summer too, and you get the lights and the vibes. Like
This would be
I
the perfect park to implement that type of schedule.
I
It really
challenge
would
you that
be.
a theme park iced coffee though, nothing can be beat. So I
right.
hear what you're saying. I don't need the 6 a.m. theme park, but don't take away my 11 a.m. iced coffee from me, Gooch. Don't take it away. I need it. I need it. I need to jingle my ice,
Jiggly rice.
walk into my coaster.
Your
Oh man.
coaster shimmy.
Gregory, how can people get in touch with you if they want to follow along on your adventures? Do you have an Instagram?
I do have an Instagram. If you are trying to follow me, it's going to be Gregory G154. It'll be very obvious that it's me because my current profile picture is me standing on top of New Texas Giant during Lone Star Coaster-thon that just happened a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
So it'll be obvious to find that. And then also you'll see a lot of coaster pictures and Volcano Bay stuff. It'll be very obvious. So if you want to get in touch with me, you can do that. Absolutely. I do not mind. And I'm also down if you've been to Epic Universe, definitely talk about it. I love yapping about the park, especially everything that's in this park, the shows, the food. Like, didn't really get a chance to talk about my favorite food in the park, but my favorite food in the park is actually not even from one of the main quick table service restaurants. It's from the Burning Blade Tavern, the staked grilled chicken. It is absolutely fantastic, and that's actually the only dish I have gotten more than once during my previews.
Wow, I guess you like it. It must be good. And of course, thank you again to our returning guest, Brichette Reid, and correspondents Doug Perry and Gerik Gooch. Listeners, thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed these episodes, and we'd love to hear from you. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast and give us 5 stars if you can, rate and review. And if you have any questions, comments, or podcast episode pitches for us, please reach out to podcast@aceonline.org. Don't forget to check the website, ridewithace.com. And remember that Ace is everywhere you consume your social media. We're on Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads, Pinterest, LinkedIn. Make sure you're subscribed to Ace's pages on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Discord. Follow Ace everywhere to stay on top of all of the coaster and park news coming out and to hear what your Ace membership has to offer. And if you haven't joined Ace yet, what are you waiting for? Thanks for listening. I hope you get to ride a coaster today.
Ride With Us is produced by the American Coaster Enthusiasts, a registered 501c3 organization. Visit ridewithace.com for additional information, and we will see you at the parks.